The 011 Dynamic Evo, and 6 EK fans at full blast. Should probably turn it off for this video. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off. Welcome to Simple Rut. This episode is just gonna be some building tips and tricks, I guess, for the 011 Dynamic Evo. Now, I went through and did this configuration, which was the one I was excited to do. Now, my eventual goal is to do this with a crazy, over-the-top, stupid, unnecessary, full liquid build. But for now, this is a good example of, a decent build in this case. It's by no means crazy. It's a overclocked 10600K with a 3070, and then EK's Elite 360 radiator, which comes with the 6 fans, which is why I've got the 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top. Now, before I get too far, don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be doing a build in the 011 Air Mini, which is going to end up being a custom build. I'm going to go through and show you how to paint a graphics card, this graphics card in fact. Not to mention I've got other random videos I'm working on in the meantime as well, so, check it out. So back to building in this. Now, as you can see, I did do the reverse mode, so the motherboard is upside down, and the biggest trigger warning on here is, the carbon is upside down too. So if you got words on your motherboard, reverse might not be for you, unless you're in the situation I am in, where for this to fit properly on your desk, it should be in the reverse mode so that you get to see all the pretty lights and all your, hard work on building this thing. So let's get into building. Now, the first thing I did was put in the graphics card in this manner, which really didn't cause any issues. Like, I just did it to do it because I wanted to see it in there, and then I just left it, with the thought of, maybe I'm gonna have to remove it throughout the build, but I didn't. Now, the one thing you're gonna notice is I did not follow Lian Li's work instruction. I've got this little bracket up here on top. Now, they have it along the side with the solid state and hard drive bracket in the back. However, I wanted it to be open, as you can see, for airflow in that. So I left it with the fan bracket in there, and I was able to attach that onto the top and keeps it from, it's actually pretty sturdy in there. So you don't really get any movement. In fact, it moves the whole case when you move it. So that's cool. Now, while we're talking about the graphics card, I was very concerned in how the PCI cable would look. And as you can see, depending on whether you like it or not, that's what it comes down to. But it is different. And I think the way I routed it is probably the best way to do this if you have this option, which I think you do. It's really just using the 24-pin cable to kind of keep it snug and up here while keeping it, uniform through the bend. And I actually kind of like it. Now, it is a long cable. It's also a Gen 4 cable, so that's pretty awesome. But it really comes down to, your preference. Some people might not like it, and when I seen it in the work instruction, I was really concerned. It was almost a deal breaker on building it this way. But, I kind of like it. Now, I put that in very last. The very last thing I did was this cable, and I recommend you do the same if you're building it with the vertical orientation, just because it does come in right where all your cables are coming through. So that was the only thing that kind of sucks if you did the graphics card first. But you do have to do the graphics card before you put any fans in or radiators, anything like that down here, because they will be in the way. So now, one thing that was a little odd on the reverse too, which actually managed to work out just fine, is, going AIO. If you're doing a full liquid loop, then you're doing your own runs, it's not gonna matter. AIO, however, especially this one, if I ran these tubes over here, it would have been really twisted and it wouldn't have looked good at all. luckily enough, they were long enough to do this, and it actually looks really good, and it looks uniform. So I'm really happy with that, how that came out. Now, of course, your motherboard and your cables are pretty generic for, you know, a case and the process it takes. In fact, I would say this may be easier than most just because of the sheer amount of room you have. Now let me flip this around so I can show you what I'm talking about. Now when you're building this, you have all the room behind here for cables, and it is more than enough room. I would take this off, but the one issue with this build is not Lian Li's fault. It's more of, I guess, kind of EK's fault, and the fact that there is a lot of cables for the Elite AIO. And this is the easiest way to manage them, is to just run it into their kit that it comes with. Now that does organize it to an extent, but it did cause an issue. One, I kind of don't have anywhere else to easily put this. I could have put this on the inside down here and it would have fit. There, you can't see in here, I'll show some video, but there's plenty of room in here to go with probably twice the amount of cables I'm currently using in here. It is insane how much cable management room there is, and just how easy it is to manage those cables as well. But I really didn't want to stuff this on the inside of there because I was worried about the length of the wires. Now, these kind of fit long, but the issue is the back panel struggles to snap this guy in. So when struggling to snap this guy in, so moving the case, the back panel did pop off. And, you know, if I were to keep this build permanently, I would take the time to put this on the inside here and manage that a little better. Because like I said, behind this is plenty of room for more cables. And, you know, this is a pretty straightforward build, so I didn't do a whole lot of crazy. You know, you've got two cables coming over for your graphics card. You've got your SATA for not only your EK fans, but also for your LED strip on the front, which actually has a lot of fun settings going through these buttons and picking them out. And you know, this case would be even easier to build in if you did just the normal setup for the graphics card. Now, I don't have the setup to do a vertical to tell you how that goes, but really there's just so much room in this case that not a whole lot is going to be difficult. And I think it took me an hour, maybe an hour and a half to do this entire build to what you see right now. So that's really not that bad. I'm used to building in cramped cases, so to have something this big was actually really nice. And you know, what's even nicer is being able to pop off those brackets and connect your radiator, connect your fans, and put that whole bracket in. So the top up here, of course, has wires behind it. Now this is a full ATX motherboard, and this is what's supposed to be the bottom of the case. Granted, this case isn't, you know, designed with the thought of a radiator on top and bottom, so that's kind of a given. But it does make it difficult to do any of those wire connections, so make sure you connect all of those wires before you put this radiator in. Now with that, also make sure that the fan wires are all ran through your guides up top, because you're gonna really have a difficult time kind of pushing them over that. In fact, I forgot to hook up one of the RGBs, and it was a little tricky. I had to kind of like watch from the top and use 2 fingers and just slide it in there. It worked and looks great. And I don't know that I have a whole lot more to say in this video, because I actually enjoyed this build and makes me want to go back to building in full towers, because all that extra room is so nice. In fact, I look forward to do the Air Mini build here coming up soon, which, you know, as a reminder, don't forget to subscribe. Comment down below too, you know, let me know what you think of this build, or, you know, what you think of the case, or, you know, feedback on the videos. I'm always looking at ways to improve and bring better content to you. And with that,